stronger relatively?
I mean, Magnus played so well. This is the ridiculous thing, that he played so well. I mean, he got the winning position where he would think that the opponent would just crack and it comes
Look at Magnus
easily.
here. Look at Magnus here now.
Well, it says it all. I mean, this is the least we should be seeing on his face.
Look at Magnus. This was not how it was looking before the tiebreak.
It's extremely difficult to come back from psychologically. But of course, he's the world champion after all, so probably he will get back.
And there we have the game going.
Let's see how we start. So again, we have the Rai Lopez, D3, as we had previously in some of the games. D3, he's repeating knight A5 at this stage. Let's see, we are repeating Bishop E6. I think this is what we had game 3, 2, maybe, B4. Karjakin plays fast. I think I have the feeling that Karjakin will be playing fast this time. He will not let it go down. I mean, he was so much on the edge of dying in the previous game.
Karjakin is still drinking his magic coffee.
I mean, I don't think any of the players could calm down, and their heartbeat is probably faster than it should be for different reasons, but still. Well, probably might be playing knight d5 at this point. And it's just arrived. Knight d4. Actually, we are having similar things what we had in game 11, I think, where white didn't have the move b4, but now we're going to see the knights exchanged shortly, all four of them.
Bennett, we're soon going to switch around in the studio, but what's your thoughts on what you're seeing here and right now, both of the two players, how they're acting and how they're playing?
I mean, I'm just so awed by what these guys can do, and I don't think it's possible to communicate how fatiguing it is to play a tournament like this, physically fatiguing, and to get to this point and to have the pressure just mounting. What does it feel like to be at this stage of a tournament? How do you compare it to your state, your physical state and your mental state between the beginning of a tournament and this point?
Well, this is so unique. It's a world championship match. I was in very tough situations, but when I was playing in a knockout tournament, for example, a World Cup, and my longest match was 8 games. And that it was like I won, I lost, I won, I lost, and then at the end it was just crazy game. One of my games was 112 moves, and with some miracle I won, and after that my opponent was not very happy to say hello to me for some days. I mean, it's so much things are happening emotionally when any of the players are winning that you cannot really describe it. It's like you have to live the moment, and it's so tense. I mean, now I don't know how much the players will be able to play this game and how much their brain will be still on the previous game.
Yeah, and after the games in the match, Magnus Carlsen had, for example, a day or two to recover mentally. Now he had 10 minutes. That is a big difference. And
it's a huge difference. Yeah. It's a huge difference. I mean, this is always the most difficult thing when something goes wrong and you have only minutes to recover. And these are crucial. How are the players are able to recover, focus on the next game, and possibly taking their chances. Like, for example, now it's also a question to Karjakin whether is this the moment, because it's such a short time. Is this the moment to take risk? Or should I still continue with my strategy that I'm just not losing and I want to pull Magnus into this, force him to make risks? That's a huge question.
What
Ben,
does it-
yeah, so just
Oh,
go
so
ahead.
what does
Yeah.
it say to you that Sergey's already thinking?
I think he's thinking about that, whether which direction should he go. Should he go, for example, I think the main question is whether he wants to take the bishop on e7 or the knight. And actually, he's not going for a drawish game. He went knight g5. So actually, maybe this is the moment when he thought that this is the game with this exact mental momentum is the one when he should strike against Magnus and actually show that he wants to win the game. Because if it would be a draw this game, an easy draw, then possibly Magnus would somehow find his way back to the match. Because at this point, it's very clear that Sergey is extremely hyped up that he saved the game, while Magnus is really so disappointed with himself that it's very difficult to concentrate 10 minutes later to the next game when we know exactly how Magnus can behave and react after not winning a game or something goes really not the way he's planned.
So what you're saying here is that the last game might change Sergey Karjakin's way of playing chess in this match while
Well,
going at it.
I mean, eventually, Karjakin also has to create chances for himself, right? Just because he's geniusly showing what kind of defensive skills he has, I mean, it's not necessarily you can win the match unless you go all the way to the Armageddon until game 15. He plays with the black pieces and holds the draw and becomes the world champion. I don't like to see that scenario. I want Sergey, if he's going to be the champion, I want him to crush in one game, you know. I mean, you can't be just playing defensive, please. I mean, if he wants to take the crown, he has to show that he goes for it, he attacks Magnus, and he does it all the way that he wins the game. He beats Magnus. Because until this point, Sergey was defensive, and when Magnus lost, it was mistake of Magnus. It was not the great creative play by Sergey. He was genius up to the point in his defense. So now I'm really looking forward to some sharp things by Karjakin if he wants to become the world champion.
It's interesting that we're still so interested in this game.
When the match is over, you think, or what?
No, not this particular game. I mean chess in this tournament, given that in the age of computers, you know what's going on. The thing that a computer cannot necessarily understand is the psychological preparation that these players can do and what a strategy. Like Karjakin could just say, no, I can win the crown this way. I could win this by attrition, by frustration, and that we know enough about him that if I just crouch and wait, that is the key. And that's what makes the difference between what a computer can do and what a human
Well, the
can do.
computer would just give this mate in 31 moves in the previous game. I mean, that would be the difference. That emotional parts are not in the picture when you play the computer. That's
I'm
why
saying
I don't like
that's
to
part
play.
of what makes it so interesting.
Yes.
The game, knowing that the psychological game is happening.
But actually now it can get tactical. I'm just looking some lines. So, of course, there's a lot to be calculating now.
Before you do that, Judith, and before we let you go out in the venue again, Bennett, and to enjoy this beautiful game, may I ask you for a prediction for what you think will be the end result of this match?
No,
Okay.
I'm not in the prediction game. I like the drama, and I like both of these players so much, and I felt differently at different points of the tournament, and I did want to see Sergey draw some blood, and once he did, I just found myself rooting for Magnus.
So we called you in the wrong time.
Still, I don't like to make predictions.
Yeah. Well, if you like drama, I mean, you were just in the best place to be in the previous game.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to the studio,
It's
Bennett.
been fun. It's been fun.
Thanks.
Very much. And Judith, can you show us some lines on the board now?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that Magnus went on to this knight g5 because at this point, bishop d5 happened, e takes d5, knight d7. And actually, it is getting very interesting as the knights were not swapped off, and now the a2 bishop will have a long time to be active again. And now it's a question whether white is planning to come back knight f3 or possibly knight to e4. Because knight e4 is also possible for the later idea to push back the d4 knight with c3 and then provoke black to play f5 or so. And then some interesting tactics, even white can go c3, f takes e4, c takes d4, and can be kind of extremely funny pawn structure what we could have. I mean, so many pawns on the d and the e file. And actually he went knight e4. So I have the feeling that Sergey is really provoking Magnus, and he wants to make him kind of unstable, pull him that go for f5. And actually he's going for it. He is going for it. Knight d2, he was not even thinking about c3, counterattacks, intermediate move. He just goes for a simple knight d2. White has the pairs of bishop. But on the other hand, for the moment being, black is very active. And it seems like Magnus really wants to win this game. He just played f4. He's going for it. Of course, it's not only that he's playing active, but he made a space for his knight on f5. So after c3, black would be going knight f5, escaping. And this is kind of interesting because it can be dangerous for white, white's king. But I think here we can see maybe kind of great attacking style later by Magnus. And it is an unbalanced position, not like we had previously that it was very balanced, everything was under control. This game can be a bit different as Sergey might have used to.
And with this unbalanced position on the board, I want to ask both Kaja and Peter Doggers, are you balanced? Bennett Miller almost needed a doctor.
Yeah, no, not at all. And people on the social media are really not balanced at all either. We have a lot of people talking warmly about Sergey Karjakin. Daniel Malai saying Karjakin is the Rocky Balboa of chess. And then we have another one who's actually changing sides now, not rooting for Carlsen anymore. His performance during the entire match does not justify the title world champion. And I guess you can discuss that, but he's starting to root for Sergey Karjakin and his defensing, who's really impressing.
Judith kind of mentioned that same point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a struggle for Magnus, this match. And of course, I feel sorry for him because I know exactly what it is when you struggle with yourself. It's so bad when you feel that simply things don't work out when you know it should. It should. You made the difficult part of the job. You made the winning position. You made great decisions. You sacrificed the pawn. You made it right. And when somebody was writing it that, well, is there an opportunity that there are too many different good moves? It is something so serious on a high level, also on the highest level, that you really have to learn how to convert your advantage. Absolutely. But of course you think that once I have a huge advantage, I will be just winning. And against Sergey, it doesn't work.
And that's other people also saying Daniel Gormley, worst birthday ever for Carlsen, about to lose his title. And that's the feeling amongst people right now, just because it's even. Obviously, it's 2 draws. But by Magnus not getting that win, it seems like people are turning to this as actually losing for him now.
And Peter Doggers, what is there to say about... do you want to talk about the last game, or do you want to talk about this opening?
Well, yeah. Usually I mention a little bit about the opening, and we're, of course, already into the game, but it amazes me, actually, that it is yet another Rui Lopez. I mean, I believe it's now the 10th or 11th time. I lost track actually, but there's never been a World Championship match dominated by one opening this much, I believe. And it goes to show that it's the ultimate classical opening. There's only one opening played more often, I believe, in history, and that is the Queen's Gambit declined in World Championship history. But maybe the Ruy Lopez will take over at some point. And yeah.
In the meantime, we have move C3 was played and knight F5. Actually, I think things are going pretty well for Magnus to make an unbalanced game with not a symmetrical structure. So it's...
let's put it this way. He has an opening that gives him time to cool down from the previous game.
Yeah, but maybe he's going to be a beast in this game, you know,
maybe
and
he's
he's
more,
so angry.
So, yes. No, but it was just incredible what we have seen. And Maurice actually was running into the press room right after the game and saying, "What the is wrong with Magnus Carlsen?"
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he could not believe that Magnus did not win that endgame or before. How many? The next question was, how many winning positions did he have and everything? So, yeah, I guess everyone is wondering what happened there. And I guess his pulse is now, and Sergey's are now dropping.
It's exactly what Judith has been pointing out over and over again. What is wrong here? And how is it possible?
But I think he's happy with his position because now it's not Sergey's stability, typical position which he usually has.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this is exactly what during the whole match I had the feeling that I just simply did not understand why Magnus believes that it's so much better to play with the white pieces against Sergey. I mean, look at this position. It's going to be a complicated game, completely same chances, same percentage that you can win with black. Actually, for Sergey's style, I think it's much more in this match that he wants to be the counter-attacker than to take the initiative with white. And this way, I think, actually, to be honest, for Sergey, I think the white pieces are more dangerous, it seems, somehow.
Some people are also really optimistic for Magnus. No, it's not everyone are saying he's losing. So Harald, probably from Norway, saying Magnus is in a good mood. He's noticed Magnus was smiling a little bit before this game. And if he manages to recover from last game, he can still make it. But Sergey will fight like a lion. So it's still going to be intense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and one more note about the opening was that on the 9th move, again that 9th move, Magnus was returning to game 2 of the match. In fact, he put his knight on a5 there, and that's
knight e4. Knight e4. Of course, the knight should be in the center, generally speaking, so it was very inviting for white to make it in the center. I would be, to be honest, play with the black pieces.
Yeah, the computer would that also. He's rooting for black.
Don't tell me that...
54-46.
Because actually it's a very nice play for black. Black played just queen e8. So I was playing not this system, but in the King's Indian, usually you have your pawn on f4. And black has great chances with queen g6, knight g5, possibly even g5 at some point, knight h4, putting pressure on the g2 pawn. And actually white's a2 bishop is at the moment is really far, far away from the play on the king's side.
It's a pawn, a double pawn at the moment.
Yeah, poor bishop.
Yeah.
Because actually black is much more active. And in a rapid game, definitely. And again, what we see, Karjakin is behind again 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.
The light squared bishop was called Bobby Fischer's favorite bishop because of many of his Ruy Lopez games. But here, even Fischer wouldn't like it.
Well, we have some more optimism for Magnus here from Dean Lee Bomar. Magnus Carlsen has not been able to break Sergey Karjakin's defense, but defense does not win you the championship. You also have to attack, and I guess that's...
Well, this is what I'm waiting also, that really, with Sergey, I also believe that you cannot win the title by not creating your chance and taking and make it in reality and realize your chance.
But in a lot of sports, it says that defense wins you titles.
Yeah, defense is the best offense.
Well, I hope it's not going to be in chess.
It's not going to be this sport, yeah, exactly.
I mean, the horror scenario for me to get the Armageddon and make it a draw.
Haven't we already seen that in 2000? It's enough. It's enough.
Yeah.
No, we want somebody to win.
And we do have another question talking about those defensive skills of Sergey Karjakin. It's from Zisano Zala, and he's wondering if you can, if Karjakin is considered a better defender than Petrosyan.
Well, Petrosyan, of course, very great defender, but I think generally the level of defense became so much stronger in the last 1 or even 2 decades. Since we have computers and engines, people are just simply much better. They improve so much more in defense than in attacking skills. Because somehow, of course, you pay attention a lot when you have to defend. You don't want to lose. But when you have a good position, you don't put so much of an effort to well, if you have a good game, you're just happy that you have a good game, and you don't put extra preparation into how to convert a winning position, because then already you're so happy. So defense generally it becomes much stronger, but I think we can say that at the moment I think Sergey is really showing his skill, that he's the best defender in the world. He's not the world champion, but at least for the moment, for sure. But he's the best defender.
And Anish Giri actually tweeted that he might be the world chess defense champion. So
I think we could give him out already now.
What skill did he show with bishop b3?
Bishop b3. Well, he's not happy at all with his bishop. I think the idea could be for later that white wants to go f3 maybe at some point, but just to make sure rook on a2 can be a great defender on the second rank, for example. And also I think he wants to go a4. That's the other main idea, because that's the only way how he can activate his rook on a1 at this point. But of course Magnus will be moving on queen g6, I think, without too much of thinking, going to attack. But okay, black can also try to play a5, but for sure I would go for queen g6, continue the attack and trying to play knight h4 and bring my pieces.
Yeah, Kashif Nazim is suggesting that knight h4 and then pawn to f3.
Well, first I would be bringing my queen out, because actually after knight h4, maybe queen g4 can be something unpleasant. Just to keep an eye on the e6 square, and for the moment black is not so active.
Queen g6.
Queen g6, of course, queen g6.
F3.
And instantly f3, so already definitely Karjakin has in mind rook a2, just in case if something goes wrong, he'll defend the second rank.
57-43 Carlsen.
It's not. Apparently for Karjakin it was an easy move, but of course at the same time the rule, but more or less, is never move pawns on the wing where you're weaker, and don't weaken your king when it's not necessary. So
Yeah, but it was necessary, I guess. That's the case.
Right.
I mean, the rule can go on if it's not necessary, but probably it was necessary.
Chess is all about rules and all about exceptions.
And now what for Magnus Carlsen, Judith?
Well, it's very, very difficult actually to attack with black, because if black gets over-optimistic, it can also cause him problem. I mean, it's possible actually that black can go now on the queen side to push a5, so to gain some initiative on that side. And later on, black has to keep it in mind, and white also, that black can go bishop h4. Possibly after f3, black will be going to improve its position, queen h5. But of course, white's soul of the position is this e4 knight in the center. That is something exceptional. He takes control over the f6 square, which is very important, so the rook cannot come to f6 and h6 for the moment. That is a crucial piece in this game, defensive piece for Karjakin.
But is it possible that the last game woke up an over-eager beast in Magnus Carlsen?
Well, you never know. I mean, it's definitely that it's like unbearable to have this situation that he missed so many wins. It is something
Although
that
the question, of course, is to what extent does he really know that he means those wins? I guess the task of Peter Hein Nielsen is to avoid mentioning the topic during
but there
that
are
break.
some situations you don't need anybody around you or any
Yeah,
computer
but still,
to feel it.
you're never 100% sure, of course, but especially in that ending. How many? Okay, let's put it this way: he must know he was winning, but he doesn't know how many wins he
But
gave away.
I don't
guess.
care, and he doesn't care.
Maybe
I think
not.
he simply knows it that he had to win that game, no matter in 30, made in 31, or made in 102, or whatever it took. I mean, it was really a game. He didn't have any risk. It was dangerous for Karjakin. Karjakin had no time. Magnus had 10 minutes, so he had the time to think. And before, when they had still even the queens, it's even if the position is not winning, you think you have to win with such a circumstances. This is the problem.
So now he makes bishop h4.
Bishop h4. This we discussed, and really, he's going for it. And he wants to bring his knight f6, most likely. So he is getting really aggressive here. His next move will be queen h5, knight f6, really trying to put a lot of pressure on Sergey again.
Yeah, and if Black manages to trade the e4 knight, there are even the ideas of queen to the h file and put bishop on h3.
G3.
G3.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
And
There are a lot of ideas come back
checkmating
from
ideas,
King's Indian a bit.
This is definitely
also.
more comfortable for Black to play, I would say.
But it's definitely much more dangerous to play it with white. It is dangerous, and especially in rapid game. Let's say blitz, it would be like horror. But I think in rapid game, it can be also extremely difficult.
And Magnus keeps his time advantage also. So yeah, I guess by now he's sort of over it.
Funny tweet here by your colleague in chess.com, Mike Klein, saying Trump, and he's obviously ironic here, Trump just tweeted, "No wall needed," and signed Sergey Karjakin to defend the U.S. border instead. So both Putin and Trump are going to fight over having Karjakin to defend them now.
Yeah, it seems that Trump has been making some retreating moves on the political chessboard.
Yeah. We also have someone here saying that they think Karjakin's king side is kind of weak. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, he chose to play f3 to defend with his rook, but I mean every pawn move does weaken squares. He was covering e3 and g3 with that pawn, and now he's not anymore.
We had the move. A4 was played by Sergey, and Black is just playing knight f6. He's not waiting time at all. He's very much focused playing on the king side. But of course, it's not easy to crack White's position just because he's bringing all his pieces. Now, probably, of course, well, there's not much idea to move away. Actually, White cannot move away his knight on e4. So it is going to be exchanged one way or another. And of course, Black wants real attack on the black squares. Actually, eventually, like, let's say White would be playing a takes b5, which is kind of a natural move. And actually, that should be the move. Because once Sergey can start exchanging pieces, probably there is a small relief. But still, it's very dangerous for White. Let's say if I just make a move, I just bishop d2, then already White could have in big, serious trouble. First of all, okay, rook a3, and on the a5, the rook can be very strong. But even knight takes e4 takes, and knight e3, bishop e3, f e3, this could be a big trouble for White, because Black will be able to bring his bishop on f2, and the pawn on e3, like 2 squares away from queening. It could be deadly dangerous.
Yes.
So actually, it is a very dangerous situation at the moment for Karjakin.
And again, we have 5 minutes difference on the clock.
And again,
Magnus
Sergey is on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying, why was Magnus so much afraid of the black pieces?
Mm-hmm.
He's again having such a wonderful position.
So you're saying he shouldn't have gone for the draw so many times?
Game 7, for example.
Right, yeah.
I just think that it was a bad strategy to put double or nothing on game 8. Mm-hmm. I think simply if you have the chance, you have to be ready to grab it. And look, game 12, he was playing with the white and he didn't force things. really to force matters that really I'm going to make double or nothing. So I felt a little confusion there that, okay, so what is the strategy? Because, and especially that we know that Magnus is really the kind of person who fights out every single game. That's his idea, that's his mentality, that's what made him a world champion. And then he got this confusion during the match in one game or another that, well, maybe I let this go and I move on for the next game or whatever.
Queen E2.
Queen E2. Of course, White is defending against this possibility that Black would be coming. He didn't want to allow Knight E3, and he wants to be on the safe side. So far at this point,
A5.
he's
So
taking
quickly.
tension. A5.
This is for me. This is quite amazing. Actually, he spent like 15 seconds on A5.
But I think he had this in mind.
Sure,
just
sure.
It just comes like
But
this.
he does keep the pressure here. I mean,
No, it was an excellent move. I mean, if the move is good, it's genius.
Yeah.
But if it's just flashing out a move like this, when you have 5 minutes time advantage and make Karjakin to think, and of course this is possible because Queen E2 was just made. So after A takes B4, A takes B4, C takes B4, Knight D4 would be the move, which would be very unpleasant for White. So this is the reason why Black played A5, I guess.
using the whole board.
Yeah, really,
Always nice
making
to see.
one move here, one move there, and put the pressure,
So many people
pressure.
would just focus on the king side and try to make a breakthrough there. But
No, you definitely have to play in
using
the...
the queen side as well is, for me, a sign of a very good player.
And again, Karjakin is going under 10 minutes with Magnus Carlsen having over 15. So, and again, Karjakin is defending.
Yeah, this is a really
Actually, he
important
is defending.
phase. This is another critical phase, I would say.
Well, probably B takes A5 will be the move, rook A5, but Black is really coming in the position.
Garry Kasparov would be so much in his element here with the black pieces.
Why?
I'm thinking that because his play was always about initiative and
Energy.
combining threats on all sides of the board and yeah, just powerful moves. That was his trademark basically. And this black game from Magnus makes a very powerful impression to me so far.
But it's incredible because if you think about it, Magnus played well. The game in the previous game, also this game, also game 11 when he played C3, D5. I mean, he really showed some great ideas, great spirit in the game.
Yeah.
And somehow he has these crises. Once he's really reaching the winning situation, it's like kind of he's relieved that, okay, I showed that I can do it or something. And then he lets it go. Because, of course, he's not used to having such an opponent as Sergey to defend until really the last second of the game.
But does this game with Black so far show that Magnus has recovered mentally from the recent game?
Well, I don't think he recovered. I think he just became very angry,
Now
and
leaving the playing hall, by the way.
his anger makes him making good moves, I think.
Yeah.
And Karjakin has been thinking for almost 3 minutes. Magnus Carlsen leaving the chair.
Yeah,
And,
they're drinking quite a lot of water. He actually might be just be going to the toilet here, which in a rapid game is you don't really often do that, going to the toilet during a rapid game. But with such a big time advantage and having made a very good move,
he now
might
has
just,
he now has to double the time of Karjakin, and Karjakin is going under 8 minutes. Karjakin's been thinking for 3 minutes and
Well, for
20 seconds.
Karjakin, it's on the edge of the cliff again.
Yes.
Soon.
I keep on thinking about the World Cup, by the way. The World Cup final against Peter Sviegler, where they played, I think, a total of 10 games, and all 10 were decisive. After 2 classical games, Karjakin was 2-0 down. He had to win the other 2, and he did. And
Well,
then,
let's put it that way. Svidler had to lose the other 2.
Absolutely.
That was probably the game Magnus was
And-
tweeting about. We brought up a tweet by Magnus made in September 2015 about
Right.
how Karjakin showed some class chess.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that was probably
Yeah,
what he was talking
No.
about.
It was just an amazing final as well, and
And he-
yeah, the strongest nerves won that game, and well, we see the same.
He
here.
is obviously
Yeah.
used to being on the edge of the cliff.
Yes.
And managing to
And
survive.
I have the
admitted
feeling-
Time after time.
I have
Magnus
the
also
fe-
referred to it at the press conference that, of course, he's seen it and he knows it. That this is the opponent he's playing against, somebody who just deals with
At
these things.
7:02 on the clock, Karjakin made his move.
A takes b5. He played a takes b5, so black will be playing a takes b4. Immediately, of course. But it's interesting whether does Sergey enjoys all these defensive situations, you think?
It's tough to say. Yeah, it's.
Because of course it's like making a draw in the previous game, it's like a victory. But you can't get away all the time with this.
You would say so, but on the other hand,
A great
been
quote.
doing it.
There's a great quote made by the great Vladimir Kramnik. Katerina Gretzi from Greece has sent us a message on World Chess Facebook page, and quoting Vladimir Kramnik, "It is rightly said that the most difficult thing in chess is winning a one position," and I guess that's what we're seeing here today.
Well, I think after this World Championship match, Magnus will go and have a training session for 1 week, winning positions. But I tell it actually
we won't be
to...
doing that for the next couple of months, though. But,
No, but actually, I think it goes for every level, actually, that you should invest time how to convert a winning position into a win.
I think there's even 1 or 2 books written about exactly this topic. So.
But I think the best way is to do it, to play training games on that and really play it out, to learn how to really win the winning positions. So now it's Sergey already soon going to go
Yeah.
down to 5 minutes. Incredible.
And Magnus
Again, more than
still
10
is
minutes.
over
Seriously under
16.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sergey seriously under pressure again.
That is
Basically
actually
right out of the opening. I mean, Magnus kind of surprised him again. There was a move order thing where he did not take a bishop on a2, which had been played almost exclusively in the opening. He went knight c6 back. So,
No, but I think in this game, simply Sergey wanted to sharpen things, because after knight d5, knight d4, he could again go to swap off all the knights, and it would be an extra b4, which I don't think it's so bad for white. Maybe it's not so good, but it's not so bad either. So he went knight g5.
and Sergey Karjakin is under 5 minutes. And it's actually the biggest time
Bishop
difference
d2.
during the tie break.
Bishop d2. Okay, he's gaining another 10 seconds. So a little bit over 5 now, but it's huge. It's more than 10 minutes difference on the clock.
But it's again Magnus who is pushing and pressing.
Okay, let's put it this way. If Magnus does not win this one,
Then what? Then what?
yeah.
The computer now is 58-42, Magnus Carlsen.
We have some Norwegians tweeting that they've actually taken the day off from work tomorrow, and they're happy they did. But do you guys think that this is going to go beyond the rapid?
Depends on this game, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if Magnus wins, he'll have white in the last one, and
No, that's
I don't
clear, I
see,
think, yeah.
Maybe that's what I was trying to say 1 minute ago. A win would be more or less decisive. It's well.
But I think it would have been the
except for
previous game
the
also.
opponent is Sergey Karjakin, where we thought 5 times that it was decisive last year.
Exactly.
So maybe this one isn't even decisive.
And now Carlsen is doing his thinking. A bit over 1 minute now. What's his possibilities here now, Judith?
There's an interesting option for black to play rook fb8, putting pressure on the b5 pawn, for example. But he played bc3. He went for, which actually is a very logical move, bishop c3, because now the f5 knight has 2 unpleasant squares for white, e3 and the d4 square. It cannot be defended both squares by white. So black has a wonderful position. That's very clear. The question is, how will he able to improve and increase the pressure? Like knight e3 seems to be the very logical move at this point. Then white would have to go away rook fc1. Though I'm not sure that this bc3 was the best, because if black cannot put extra pressure on the g2, I'm curious how actually he did knight e3. Rook c1 happened. We have this on the board.
A knight on e3, wasn't that called an octopus?
When?
I remember the game, the famous Sicilian Kasparov-Karpov game with the d5 pawn sacrifice. I think Gary got a knight on d3, right?
Well, actually, one of the most unpleasant square for white when the knight is on e3, d3. I mean, it's really annoying. And here it will be probably for quite some time for white as well. Well, it is a question how to improve with black. For example, black can go king h8, trying to grab the d5 pawn. It's an alternative which Magnus can have in mind. So the e3 knight is attacking, and the f6 knight is attacking the d5 pawn. Actually, king h8 is a nice move. It's a good move, I think. Very unpleasant for white, and
still that bishop on b3, of course, is just an outsider. Although here it covers some squares at least.
well, at least it's defending the d5 for the moment, and actually white got some activity on the c5 with his rook possibly, and later on he might be going back to d2, or even to go bishop e1, exchanging the. Well, no, he will go bishop d2, and some way or another he will try to get rid of the e3 knight.
Paco Vahayo is suggesting Tom Cruise and Matt Damon are playing Sergey and Magnus now with a Hollywood script, making it dramatic.
Paco Vallejo is actually a Spanish grandmaster who won a tournament last Sunday in Germany, the Beautiful Minds Rapid tournament. So he's a strong player, and yeah, as anyone, he's apparently also following this game.
Funny comment here from a Norwegian named Christian. The wife just asked me if we could make a baby. I told her chess is more important right now.
Well, actually, I've heard some marriages go not in the best direction because of chess. Chess is a dangerous game.
Actually, one of my best friends said that, of course, that he is going to watch this this final, and his girlfriend on Facebook said, does it mean that I'll finally have you for myself afterward? Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to see how people are really getting hooked on this chess now. Not only chess players, but
and I must say, I mean, after.
Sorry.
Let's see the moves.
Rook a1, rook takes a1. Well, maybe actually black wants to go back queen e8 and grab the b5.
Switching,
Yeah, I think it's important for him to be able to switch, play both sides, and somehow keep the tension and put Sergey under pressure on both sides with unexpected moves.
No, I wanted to say that, especially after that 12th game, this setup of this system with 12 games and then Rabbit, it was actually criticized by a lot of people, a lot of well-known people also, because they, for example, a lot of people in the chess world, they just don't like it that you have classical chess, the real historic variant, and then the match, of course, is decided in something that is actually maybe not the same type of chess.
And he went queen e8.
But I'm sure all these people are at the moment watching and enjoying this as well. So
exactly.
It's at the same time maybe not ideal, just like penalties in football, but it's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
He went queen e8, and I think actually he's not only heading to attack the b5 pawn, but possibly queen b6, queen b8, queen b6 is a regrouping. Because actually black did all what he needed, practically forcing white to play f3 and make these weaknesses in the e3 square and the d4 square. So now he's going to the other side. White played bishop c4.
Yeah, now
can't it be
pawn
knight
starts
e4?
to look like the bishop starts to look like a pawn even more now to me.
Actually, an author that has written a book about Magnus Carlsen, Arne Danielsen, he says that he thinks it's bad that classical chess should be finished like this. It's like a 10,000 meter run finished by a 100-meter sprint.
No, there are more people like that. For example, Nigel Short has also expressed this feeling, and as I'm saying, it's just not ideal that you have this. There was a suggestion to play 1/13th game instead, which was done already in Armageddon game, where white needs to win. There was a suggestion by Yasser Sarwan. In fact, a very interesting suggestion by a friend of mine, I am Robert Riss, and it has been mentioned before actually already, is to
King H8 finally.
King H8.
Putting pressure on the D5 pawn by playing King H8.
Yeah,
because
you
then
might
I'm not in
just
a
take
pin.
it now at some point. Yeah, yeah. No, to actually start the whole match with the tiebreak.
Yeah, I heard
That would
someone
be an
suggest
amazing
that.
idea, actually. And in football, you can do the same. Start with the penalties before you play that final World Cup final.
Yeah.
And it will lead to a very different dynamic.
But
of
don't you
course.
think the one who wins the tiebreak will kind of defend it too much, making it too many draws?
Yeah, that of course is dangerous. Somebody will be having enough to reach 6-6, so he might go into even more defensive chess.
Yeah.
At the same time, you can argue that the match really has to see at least one decisive game for the other player. So yeah,
But I think
it's very difficult. These things are always very difficult to evaluate before actually doing it. So maybe we need to have some training
Well,
match
maybe
at some
with this-
point where you do this, and then we'll have a look at how things work out. And so.
Well, maybe with the computers we know who had more chances.
No, yeah.
And if it's equal, then we just
Right.
check who had
But I
more
think-
winning positions.
I don't think Magnus himself would be a big fan of this because he's well known to have a slow start.
But Magnus is honest about wanting a different type of World Chess Championship, right? He wants more of like we have in the candidates, right?
Yeah, I think he suggested a tournament at some point
Yeah.
instead of a match. Yes, yes. So
But I think-
Actually, I think it suits him better to play tournament than because the psychological part. I think it seems like it's not his best quality.
yeah.
And in a match, you have much more of a psychology than in a tournament. And actually, I was thinking the other day that I believe that if this event would be a round robin with similar players like Karjakin, Magnus would win because those games he missed one, but he would win the next.
But Judith, having the drama from the last game and having this drama with now Sergey Karjakin going under 3 minutes again, Magnus
wow.
being at 10:47, I think there's a lot of viewers and spectators that like this
He
way of
just
playing the World Championship.
he just made a critical move because
Wow.
now
Can
Black
Black
can
now
go
open the
GF.
G-file? Yeah.
I think that has to be the main idea.
Open the file and get his rook into the attack.
And that's a big question.
Whoa.
How? Yeah, and
He's
he's
not
not
doing
taking it. He goes for the solid way,
Fast also.
and he plays. Well, maybe because that was. I'm sure Sergey was counting on making GF, but he played instantly
one.
Bishop F6, the safe way.
Surprises me, I must say.
Well, now actually Black is threatening with E4, I think, or possibly he might be playing E4. Rook A3. Defending the C3 bishop. But on the other hand, Black doesn't have the attack anymore on the king's side, and on the queen's side he can get in trouble because the A file is a very nice line for White's rook.
People are wondering on social media now what you guys predict for this game right now.
Well, the last few moves I'm not sure. Well, G takes F6 was very inviting for me to play it with Black. I mean, probably I would just go for that for sure. And actually, with Sergey having only less than 3 minutes, I think it could have been a good idea.
Yeah, I'm slightly surprised about that he didn't play it, and I'm really surprised that he spent only like 20 seconds on it on the decision.
And Magnus is now under 10 minutes as well.
Well, I think he wants to go Queen B8 eventually and play Queen B6 possibly.
Dimitri is saying he also likes Karjakin's B pawn. Do you guys agree with that?
Actually, that can be strong. Yeah, the B5 pawn can be a strong pawn later on, especially if in the end game, let's say, White would have an option to play Rook A7 and put pressure over the C7 pawn. But at the moment, actually now Black will have to E4. E4. So this was his idea, to sacrifice a pawn for good squares. He wants activity, 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 and tricks and tactics. And it was very inviting, actually. But I'm curious, after Bishop F6, he did not play Bishop F6. Just played D takes E4. So Black will be playing Bishop C3, which he just played, Rook C3, Queen e5,
It's actually a
extremely.
very nice and instructive positional pawn sacrifice, where you just see the difference between the quality of the knight on e3 and the bishop
Rook
on c4.
c1. But it will be not so easy for black to win. I mean, the
Suddenly
only
changed the computer's point of view.
the
Now the
Yeah,
computer
but
is
the computer,
50-50.
of course,
only beautiful piece is
Yeah.
the
the
e3.
material is the
Yeah.
most important thing to the computer, so that extra pawn is weighing heavily there. But these days, the computers do realize that black has a very nice compensation here, and I think this is just a very practical decision. Magnus just wants a
Rook
position,
a8,
an
h3.
h3. Magnus wants a position where he still
It's one way.
controls.
It's one way.
He is in control,
And
yeah,
and it's very unpleasant for white.
and unpleasant.
I mean, this e3 knight is something very
So
special.
this is
and
about practical play, and
yes, but on the other hand, he doesn't want to take risk. It's like gf6 is kind of a
Yeah.
risky move, so he went
Yeah.
for bishop f6, e4. He knows that
seems, so
it's
nice for
such a
black.
beautiful
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Queen d4, I guess, is one of the options. And then if after king h2, let's say black plays h6, I think it's better off somehow to push the pawn. And the question will be whether the c4 bishop can be in trouble for later situations. This will be the big question.
Alex Kolovich saying another missed opportunity by Carlsen.
Is he referring to
GF6?
Yes, he is.
Well, again, Magnus actually having a similar problem as previously. Not as his position is not as good yet, but he had two interesting good choices, and he had to make a choice. So we can't blame him on this one.
And now Magnus again getting closer to Karjakin's time.
h6, as you suggested.
H6.
Yeah.
It's interesting he didn't go queen d4, but well, I guess he just wants to keep that in mind. Though white can go maybe queen d2 and stop black
Karjakin
playing,
moves
but
quickly
he
again.
just goes king h2.
immediately. Yeah.
But he's going down very much in time.
Easy for him to blunder now, I guess. Or
Probably queen g5, or anyway queen d4. I think black has to play on this this diagonal. Queen d4, I think, is an excellent square for white, for black.
is this hard to play for Karjakin? Is it hard to find the moves that...
Queen d4.
Queen d4 he just played.
It is hard, but I have a feeling that it could have been harder.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm wondering, is a rook a4, b4, b2 a plan?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, this can be extremely dangerous for white. But okay, white can maybe, well, maybe he can be in time. Let's say bishop d3, attacking the c7 bishop, the pawn. And then if, let's say, black goes rook a3, he goes back bishop b1.
And Karjakin is thinking again. 30 seconds of thinking, and is now under 2 minutes on the clock.
It is very difficult to defend here again. So I'm going to be curious about that, whether Sergey can again prove his magician.
We can say, of course,
That
that
is the question.
The last game, the position was even more difficult, and in fact, just lost. But this, in a way, you should say that he should.
1.5
keep this
minutes
one as
on the
well,
clock
but-
for Sergey Karjakin.
But yeah, as you said, how many times can he do this?
Will he do it again?
Queen e1. Queen e1? Yeah, because actually he's giving the bishop, but then queen b4. And he would be
Carlsen
gaining
played
back.
Queen E1 one time in the match as well, and I remember you.
And it
you
was
were
not
also-
very good.
You were also puzzled back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The computer did not like
What about Queen B2?
E1.
Queen b2 looks very strong because it is a very strong move,
Just threatening
actually.
length?
I have a feeling that Magnus will win this. He will win
Again?
this one. Not again. He
No,
will
but
win
you-
this.
yeah,
He's not
but-
getting winning position. He's going to convert it into victory.
Yeah, but you have, yeah.
Okay.
Finally.
Then we have the same feeling again here.
We may take a note. At 5:27,
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Polgar may have predicted the result.
No, he's going to. He's going to win this. Queen b2,
Oh, yeah.
because it's not a fortress kind of defense. You have to be extremely sharp in
Move his
details.
rook
I
again,
think.
and Karjakin
Bishop f1, rook a2. What a pressure by Magnus.
has now having to make a decision again.
I mean, it's
On
crazy
defense
to have such a
with
position again.
1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock.
This is absolutely dominating for black, but is it winning?
And Magnus Carlsen
Yes.
is again.
You just have to
Attacking.
win this. It's awfully difficult for
feels-
White. Well, Rook B1 is the only move,
A
no?
mistake, a losing mistake for white is in the air, I think.
But Rook B1, I think it's the only move.
And
but
going
it
under
was
1 minute, the question is,
awful.
will Magnus Carlsen once be able to capitalize on a winning position? Sergey Karjakin now with 50 seconds on the clock.
No, this he will win.
Judith Polgar is,
So secure.
Judith
More and more
Polgar is
confident.
sure in the
No,
studio
because-
Magnus Carlsen
I mean-
will win this.
I mean, on the second row, I mean, you have your queen, your rook, you have knight on e3. I mean, this is impossible not
Karjakin
to
has
win.
been thinking for over 1 minute with 30 seconds left on the clock.
I hope Team Carlsen is watching you right now, Judith, because I think they're about to have a heart attack, and maybe you can calm them down a little bit.
Who wants to get
Will
the heart
Magnus
attack?
Carlsen win the third
Carlsen.
game in a tiebreak? That is the big question. We're going down to 15 seconds for Sergey Karjakin.
And he's going to crack.
And he needs to play rook
He's
b1.
still
I believe.
thinking.
Will he play rook b1 here?
Yeah, but the thing is, the problem Rook B1 is the
Will
only move,
Sergey
and he's
Karjakin
spending
crack for the
time.
first
7,
time? We have
6.
5.
And he does not play rook
3.
b1. Rook takes c7.
But Rook A1, no? And it's over.
I think it's
And Magnus Carlsen has now 7 minutes on his clock, while Sergey Karjakin has 13 seconds.
Does Magnus now have a winning move? Is that what you're saying?
Rook A1 and bye-bye.
The rook,
Bye-bye.
I love
rook
it.
A1 is the move
Is
for
he
Magnus.
just picking
now.
up the bishop? He's
Over.
just picking up the bishop.
But Magnus has to find it. No, he did.
Well, he did.
Oh, look at that
6,
computer.
5,
Yes, he
4,
resigns.
3,
Magnus won it.
He was like,
and Magnus Carlsen
Carlsen wins.
Carlsen has won the first game of the tiebreak.